What up, awesome viewers? Rio Gian here. Is the 1TB S10 Plus the best Samsung has to offer? Simple, short answer: yes, it is. Because it's a terabyte. It has a headphone jack. It has micro SD. It has decent cameras. And that's pretty much it. It has a relatively big screen, 6.4 inch I believe. So that's relatively big. It's not super heavy, so it's pretty smooth and light on the hands. The cameras are good enough. Like if we honestly look at all of the picture samples and videos, things like that, it's honestly good enough. And price not too bad. Now it's not too bad. You can get this one for, I believe, around 300 bucks. If you want to do the terabyte, if you want to save yourself 100 bucks, you can get 128 gigs. I think that's 200 or 150 or somewhere around there, which is not a bad deal at all, considering what the phone can do. It does have a in-display fingerprint scanner. The scanner itself is not the fastest, but it's good enough. It works. So there you go. And it's the last of like the phones that has everything, pretty much. Because all of the phones that are after this lose something. If we're talking about the S20, you're gonna lose the headphone jack. You still have micro SD. If we're talking about the S21, you're gonna lose both headphone jack and micro SD. So I honestly believe that the newer phones you go, the more features you lose, which is wild, just absolutely wild and insane. Because you don't gain anything for losing those features. Because if we're talking about the Fold, like with the Fold, yes, you lose micro SD, you lose a headphone jack, you gain a phone that folds. There's a trade-off. Sorry about that. There's a trade-off. Is that you lose something, but you gain something. In the newer phones, you lose something, and that's pretty much it. You don't gain a feature for losing a feature. Like, okay, a lot of people are going to say, much better camera. True. That could be true. My voice is just absolutely dead. I don't know why, so sorry about that ahead of time. That is true, but a better camera, is that good enough? So that's entirely up to you to decide. Because I used the Note 20 Ultra, and I seen like the S23s and the S22 Ultras. Yeah, the cameras are better. They're not significantly better, but they are better. But at what cost is the main thing here. So second thing, better battery life. Yeah, that's true. But this is also a 2019, I believe so. Yeah. So this is a 4-year-old phone based on the time I post or make this video. When I post it, I do not know myself. But it's still pretty good battery. I think I can still do like at least maybe 4 to 6 hours, give or take. I would say that's a pretty fair estimate. But this is the Snapdragon 855 and not the Exynos whichever particular number in this generation. So that's also something to keep in mind. If you have this phone, you have it in the Exynos version, I do not know what your performance or battery life is. It can be a wide spectrum of things. It's pretty much a wild west there. So there's that. In terms of internal storage, what a terabyte. That's great. That's actually really great. Because what a terabyte, you can do a lot of things with that terabyte. Like, because this is going on Android that's above Android 10, it doesn't have that, whatchamacallit. There we go. Do you see the 1 terabyte? Perhaps? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, because it's going above Android 10, you have the sculpted storage where you just can't store ROMs on the SD card, and some of the apps, the emulation apps, they're just too old to run it, to read the ROMs off the SD card. So having a terabyte internal storage is really useful, and you can store however many Android games you want with a terabyte. However many, to your heart's content. Pretty much. I don't think you can overfill the terabyte, but hey, maybe some people can overfill the 1 terabyte internal storage. But just in case if you do, you have up to a terabyte of external storage, which is something that you can't say with the newer Samsung phones. You cannot say, I have external storage, because you do not, because it does not have a micro SD card slot. Why does it not have a micro SD card slot? That's a very good question. Whoever's asking that question, that's a very good question. I can't answer that for you. Maybe someone from Samsung can. I cannot answer that for you. So there's that. The newer phones might have better Bluetooth, yeah. That's true. But this has a headphone jack, which you just plug in your headphones. You don't like wired headphones? Okay. You can use Bluetooth. Bluetooth works on here too. I think when this phone released, they actually released the Galaxy Buds. So, with this phone, and this one has a headphone jack. So that's it. That's interesting, right? That's very interesting. So, because it kind of begs the question of the Xperia phones. Because the Xperia phones, at least up till whenever I make this video, is basically an S10 Plus. 6.4 inch screen. The other one I think 6.5 inch screen. So like 0.1 inch bigger. Has a headphone jack. Has a micro SD card. It's slim. It's light. It has the latest chipset with whatever the particular chipset is. It has a big battery, I think 5,000 milliamp. So it has all of the components of the S10 Plus. And they kept all the features. So why can't this do it? Why can't the S23 have these features? See, the question is, oh, because there's no space. Are you sure? Like, are you really sure that there's no space for an SD card and a headphone jack? Because the Xperia phones can do it. The Xperia phones are not massive phones. The Xperia 5.4 or 5.5, 5.6, whatever the particular ones is, they're not massive phones. They are small phones. Like 6.1 inch screen is a small phone. It has a headphone jack. It has a micro SD card. Where did they find the room to do that? Well, we have much larger phones that manages to not have the room to put in an SD card slot or a headphone jack. That's very interesting. Don't you think that's very interesting? I think that's very interesting. So this is an older phone. This is a small phone. Well, I mean, by today's standards. This is a relatively small phone. It has room for a headphone jack and micro SD card slot. Where did they find a room to do that? They found a room to do it before. They can't find a room to do it now. Read and write speed. Completely understand. I completely understand the read and write speed. But you're capped now. Like my Fold 3, I am capped at 512 gigs, which I mean it sounds kind of ridiculous because you're like 512 gigs. That's a lot of memory. It's not really, but that's neither here nor there. But the fact that you're capped at 512 gigs, that there isn't a way to expand 512 gigs to something else. Think about that. Is that okay with you? 80% of the population will say yes. I don't care. And that's why we don't have micro SD card and headphone jack. I honestly believe that is the main reason why we don't have features. Because the majority of the people that are buying the devices don't care for those features. At the end of the day, if they can take features away and upcharge you, they will. Because people buy it. So, if you are a business, not a consumer, if you can take features away and upcharge, why would you not do that? Because it just gives you more profit to pay for bills and whatever research and development and things like that. So this is now looking at the minds of the business, because if they can, you can take features away and upcharge, and people buy them. Every single business would do that. You would do it. Whoever that's watching this, like, if you are a business, if you think about it that way, you would do it. So, yes, it's not good for the consumer, but here's the thing: the consumer will buy the phone with losing features, and they'll spend more money to buy things to solve problems that weren't really there to begin with, like wireless headphones. Because you don't have a headphone jack anymore, you're gonna use wireless headphones. Might as well buy the one that's from the source. Because you don't have a micro SD card slot anymore, might as well buy the one with the highest storage capacity. See how that makes sense now? Which is the sad truth that it does make sense, but it does make sense. So here we are. Long story short, about 15 minutes in. If you really want legacy features, you're gonna have to buy a phone with legacy features. And a company that's making the phone with legacy features, pray that they continue to make the phones with legacy features. Pray. Because that's the only thing you can do. Or buy an Android device. Buy the retro gaming Android device, because those most likely have those features. So when taking features away, it kind of develops a new market. It develops a new market of Android devices that has the features that your phone's missing. Whoops. And I find that really interesting because now this has features that your phone is missing, and this paves the way. Your phone missing features paves the way for a device that will solve the problem that shouldn't exist in the beginning. And now we come full circle. Interesting how the world works, but it is what it is. So there is that. And here we are. Want to pick it up and support me at the same time? I'll link it down below. I'll try to find a case too and a screen protector so you can get this particular package. If you're new, click subscribe, the bell, thumbs up, more content. You guys stay. Video got cut off because it passed 16 minutes. But anyways, new, click subscribe, bell, thumbs up for more content. You guys stay awesome.